Hi, I'm Ross Benjamin reporting for the Offshore Gaming Association. That's OSGA.com, your number one source for information on the offshore sportsbook industry. That's OSGA.com. It's time for another edition of my NFL Underdog Picks of the Week. It's the final week of the regular season. A lot of experts will tell you, including myself, one of the toughest weeks to handicap in the NFL. You get some games in there that are meaningless, where neither team qualifies for the playoffs, and they're playing out the string. And you also have those tough ones where you have teams with a lot on the line laying a huge number against a team that's been eliminated from the playoffs. So we're going to do the best we can here to continue to winning, because we've gone 7-2 against the spread the last 3 weeks with our NFL Underdog Picks of the Week. Last week, 2 wins and a push. And again, I grade myself on when I put the lines out, folks. There may be a discrepancy with some of you, because last Tuesday when I did my video for Week 16, I gave out the San Francisco 49ers, who were +5 at the time, and the 49ers fell 14-9 in that game. A push according to the line I had at the time of the recording. And then if you got closer to game time, you saw San Francisco drop to a 4 to 4.5 point underdog. So if you got in late on that game, yes, I'm acknowledging you could have lost that game. But according to the lines I put out last week, I was 2-0-1 against the spread, which makes me 7-2 against the spread over the last 3 weeks with my NFL Underdog Picks. Congratulations to all of you who have followed my picks throughout that time. Now, I'm recording on Thursday the 27th. And the games I'm going to be discussing are on Sunday, December 30th. So, as I always tell you, these lines are subject to change depending on the time you view this video. Let's go with the lines we have today. As of this recording, let's start with the Jets and the Patriots. 1 o'clock Eastern Time kickoff in Foxborough. The Jets are currently a 14.5 point underdog according to 5 Dimes. Don't like the way New England is finishing the regular season. Don't like the way Tom Brady has looked of late. Don't like the way Rob Gronkowski has looked of late. As a matter of fact, in last week's win against Buffalo, no catches in that game. And again, New England has gone 0-3 against the spread in their last 3 games, and they've lost 2 of those 3 outright. Yes, they did get backdoor covered last week against Buffalo as a 13.5 point favorite. The Bills scored a late touchdown to close the gap to 12, but Tom Brady threw 2 picks in that game, and as I alluded to earlier, we saw Rob Gronkowski be a non-factor. The Jets, now they've lost 3 of their last 4. They're 4-11 on the year. Why the heck do you like them, Ross? Well, I'll tell you why. The last 4 games, they've been extra competitive, and they haven't thrown the towel on what looks to be a head coach that's going to be coaching his last game on Sunday for the New York Jets, and Todd Bowles. The Jets players have made it clear throughout the entirety of this season, even though they've been struggling, they love playing for Todd Bowles. They play hard for him, and that's been indicative of the last 4 games. Despite losing 3-4, they did win the 1 game at Buffalo, in which they overcame a 13-point deficit in that contest to win. Last week, heartbreaking overtime loss to the Green Bay Packers, 44-38. They went to Houston, a team who is the AFC South champion, probably going to be looking at a number 3 seed in the AFC. They lost that game by just a touchdown at Houston. Were in that game throughout. And then there was the game at Tennessee, in which they lost by 4, in which the Titans needed a late touchdown to overcome a 3-point deficit to defeat the Jets by 4. The Jets got inside the number at Tennessee. They pushed that game at Houston as a 7-point underdog. Last week, as a small underdog, again, they only lose against the spread as well, by way of a Green Bay touchdown in overtime. And of course, they covered the game at Buffalo as an underdog, winning that game straight up. So the Jets have been tough over the last 4 weeks. New England, hardly worthy of a team that's laying over 2 touchdowns in a divisional matchup right now. I'm going to take the Jets here plus the 14.5 at New England. Next game again, a Philadelphia Eagles team going on the road to take on division rival Washington Redskins, and that game will kick off at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time. Currently, as we speak, the Philadelphia Eagles are a 7-point road favorite in that contest, according to Bet Online. Here's the thing: since 12/15 of 2013, the Philadelphia Eagles have gone 1-9 against the spread as an away favorite, coming off a straight-up win. Now the Eagles, they're an away favorite. Last week they defeated the Houston Texans 32-30 in a game they needed a field goal with no time left on the clock to win that contest. They were trailing at that time 30-29. They had blown a 29-16, fourth quarter lead in that contest, and boy, Philly fans were a little bit edgy as they saw their team earlier in the year blow a 17-point second half lead against Carolina. But having said that, the Eagles move on. They need a win here on Sunday, and they need a little help from one team or another to secure the final wild card spot in the NFC. Now, as we alluded to over the last couple weeks, just because a team needs a game more than another team, in this particular instance, the Eagles needed to stay alive for a wild card berth, and Washington has been eliminated for the playoffs since last week. It doesn't necessarily assure that team is going to cover the game, let alone win straight up. And going back again, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Eagles, 3-8-1 against the spread this year as a favorite of 3 or greater. I should say 2-7 against the spread this year as a favorite of 3 or greater. And dating back to last year, the Eagles have gone 1-7-1 against the spread in their last 9 games following a win, and they lost, I should say, 5 of those 9 contests straight up. I'm going to take a chance here on the Washington Redskins getting inside this number. Take the Redskins plus the 7 over the Eagles. The last game I'm going to take a look at is a real intriguing one between the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens, game that will take place in Baltimore, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. Bookmaker is telling us right now that Cleveland is a 6-point road underdog in this game. You know, Baltimore coming off a huge win last week at the LA Chargers, a game a lot of folks did not think that they could win against a team that came into that game in the Chargers that were 11-3. Baltimore with a less than stellar road record over the last couple seasons, but they came up with a huge effort and walked away with a 22-10 win. I don't know. I'm thinking, even though with a lot on the line, Baltimore wins this game, they're the AFC North champion. Baltimore loses this game, and they're going to be out of the playoffs completely. It's a winner take all. They will not qualify as a wild card in the AFC, but they can win the division by just winning. A lot easier said than done. Again, when you're coming off a big win and you're taking on a Cleveland team that they've dominated over the years, although they did lose to the Browns earlier this season, 12-9 in overtime at Cleveland. I should say they've dominated them at home. And the Cleveland Browns, speaking of them, how about the Browns? Unless you've been not paying attention because they've been out of the race for so long, the Browns have won their last 3 and 5 of their last 6 games. This is a Cleveland team that's 7 wins, 7 losses, and a tie. And with a win here, could walk away with a winning record in 2018. And that would be a major accomplishment for a team that's gone a combined 1-31 the last 2 seasons. Now, if you look at everything as far as Cleveland goes, look, not only have they been hot over the last 6 weeks, you can make a case Cleveland could have very easily been going into this last game having clinched the AFC North already. If you consider the fact they opened the season with a tie in overtime against Pittsburgh in a game in which inept field goal kicking cost them. The Browns missed one field goal in the fourth quarter of that contest, and they also missed two field goals in overtime, the last of which was on the last play of overtime, and that field goal kicker has since been booted, and that was after game two when they went to New Orleans, and we all know how good New Orleans is. Cleveland lost that game by 3, but their field goal kicker missed two field goals in the fourth quarter in addition to an extra point that cost them that game. Then you add in the fact in the Oakland loss in overtime, the Browns had that game won. They looked like they had just got a first down and were going to be able to kneel down, and the ruling was overruled, I should say, by replay and a very controversial call, and then they ended up losing that game in overtime. And then there was the loss at Tampa in which the Buccaneers kicked a 59-yard field goal with no time left on the clock to beat the Browns by 3. So as you can see, even half of those games go the Browns' way, and we're looking at a team that maybe would have been 9-5, 10-5 going into this game, 9-5-1, 10-5-1, somewhere in that area. And we might have been talking about a Browns team that was playing out the string instead of just playing for a winning record. I should say playing out the string and trying to stay healthy going into the playoffs. That's not the case. So having said that, I don't see the Browns laying down here. I really think Cleveland is going to give Baltimore all they can handle. And let me remind you, last year, all Baltimore needed was a win on the final day of the regular season at home against a Cincinnati Bengals team that came in at 6-9. They allowed the Bengals to throw a 4th and 17 touchdown pass to Tyler Boyd with less than a minute to play, and they lost that game, and Buffalo won. Buffalo goes to the playoffs. Baltimore goes home. So it's not like Baltimore hasn't been in this situation before and failed as recently as last year, as a matter of fact. The other thing I look at is when you have a team that's an underdog with a better turnover differential than the team they're playing. Now, go further, if it's a double-digit difference. So the Cleveland Browns right now go into the final week of the regular season at a +9 turnover differential. The Baltimore Ravens on the year are at -5. The difference between the team, the Browns are a +14 in turnovers and a touchdown underdog, basically a 6-point underdog in this contest. I'm going to take the Browns here, +6 at Baltimore. I will say it would not shock me whatsoever if Cleveland came up with a straight up win here, but I'm not going to get greedy. I'm going to take the points. Repeating again, we are going to take the New York Jets +14.5 at New England. We're going to take the Washington Redskins at home as a 7-point underdog against the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to take the road underdog Cleveland Browns +6 at Baltimore. Be sure to visit my website. That's rbwins.com. Right now, folks, 30-18 with my last 48 picks in all sports, and that's an incredible 63% over that long period of time. In addition, the last 3 Sundays in the NFL have seen me go 12 wins, 3 losses, and 1 push against the spread. That's 12-3-1. That's rbwins.com, where you pay a little to make a lot. Until the next time, good luck with all your picks.